Someone knocked on my door this morning. When I opened it, a little boy stood there, maybe 6 years old, cheeks red from the cold. "Grandpa," he said, smiling up at me, "you promised we'd go to the zoo today." My stomach tightened. I'd never seen this child before in my life. Before I could speak, I heard footsteps on the walkway. And then she appeared, a woman in her 30s, hair the same chestnut shade my wife once had. She froze when our eyes met, her face a mix of shock and relief. "Dad," she whispered, "what are you doing here?" That's when the world tilted, because I did know that face. Just not like this. It was my daughter. But the last time I saw her, she was 10 years old, getting ready for school, wearing a pink backpack, waving from the front steps. That was 35 years ago. I stood there with my hand on the knob. The cold leaked in around my legs. The boy swayed from heel to toe like he was waiting for a bus. His breath made little clouds. He wore a blue knit hat with a yellow stripe. His eyes were steady and brown. They were my mother's eyes. That hit me the hardest. The woman kept her hands tucked in her coat. She did not step closer. She did not step back. Her voice had the careful tone people use in hospitals and banks. "Hi," she said. "We did not mean to startle you." I did not answer right away. My mouth felt dry. Names rose and fell in my head, but none of them belonged to this woman in front of me. I remembered a missing tooth smile, a gap-toothed wave. I remembered a pink backpack that was too big and a last hug that was too short. I remembered a car door closing and a dog barking from the neighbor's porch. I remembered a lawyer's number written on a napkin. I remembered court dates that went nowhere. The boy tugged at her sleeve. "Mom," he said, looking up, "can we still go?" She glanced at me. "We will see," she said. "This is Grandpa. We are going to say hello." I heard how she said Grandpa, as if it was new in her mouth, as if she had practiced the word on the car ride over. I opened the door a little wider. "You must be cold," I said. My voice sounded older to me. "Do you two want to come in for a minute?" The boy brightened. He took one step, then looked at her for permission. She nodded once. They came into my hall and stomped their boots on the mat. Melted snow looked like a map at my feet. "What is your name?" I asked the boy. "Evan," he said, and held out his hand like a small man. His glove was damp. I shook it anyway. "Evan," I repeated. The name fit him, strong and simple. The woman watched my face as if she wanted to catch a lie. She studied my walls, the frames, the old school photo of a girl with a bowl haircut and a crooked smile. I had kept it where I could see it. I never moved it. "We drove by," she said. "We were not sure you still lived here." I nodded. "I do," I said. "Good," she said. But her smile did not reach her eyes. There was a sound behind them, down on the sidewalk. A car idled. A door shut. I noticed it, but did not look past her yet. One new shock at a time. I looked at her face and saw another life printed over the one I knew. I saw the small scar behind her left ear. I remembered how she got it. A kitchen chair, a quick turn, a bump and a cry and a bandage with a cartoon bear. I had kissed that spot and told her she was brave. She believed me. "Do you want hot cocoa?" I asked Evan. "Yes," he said, and grinned. A front tooth dipped a little to one side. Another family thread pulled tight. I stepped back and let them in. I shut the door on the cold, and on the old empty years that crowded the porch. I did not know their story. But I knew this. They had come with one. They arrived with a story. I had none. My name is Thomas Reed. I am 72. I lived alone in this house. I kept things in order. I saved receipts and dates. I believed paper could hold a life steady. I set Evan on a stool in the kitchen and started milk on the stove. I kept my eyes on the pan. My hands knew this small job. Stir, watch the edge. Do not let it boil. The woman stood by the doorway and did not take off her coat. She looked at the picture frames again. She touched the scar behind her ear. It was a quick, unconscious move. Then she dropped her hand. There was a knock at the open door from the hall. A man leaned in. He was in his 40s with a trimmed beard and a dark winter coat. He held his phone low, like it was a habit. He had the relaxed smile of someone who had practiced looking harmless. "Morning, sir," he said. "We met in the driveway." "I am Mark." He did not wait for me to answer. He looked past me to the counter. "Hey, bud," he said to Evan. "Be polite." Evan nodded and folded his hands like he had been told to. The woman stepped aside so the man could come in. She moved close to him but did not touch him. I saw the space and filed it away. People tell you a lot with what they will not touch. I took 3 mugs down. I set them on the counter one by one. The old ceramic clicked on the tile. I poured the milk and stirred in cocoa. Evan watched, rapt. Small, ordinary things calm children. They calmed old men, too. The man cleared his throat. "We are here to help," he said. "We know things can get confusing. We want to make sure you are safe and comfortable." The woman echoed him. "We just want to manage a few things with you," she said. "Simple papers. Nothing big, so nothing gets confused." The repetition was not an accident. It was a script, a soft voice on a hard job. I set Evan's mug down and added a few mini marshmallows from the jar. He smiled at me like I had found gold. The man did not sit. He took 2 sheets from a leather folder and placed them on my table like he was sending a message in chess. He did it slow so I would notice. He glanced down the hall toward the front door as if expecting someone. The phone in his hand lit up and went dark again. "We also thought," he said, "we could take Evan to the zoo while you rested. You know, give you time. Make it easy." I looked at Evan. He kicked the rung of the stool and hummed to himself. He had no idea he was bait. He should not have had to know. "What is this really?" I asked. The woman raised her chin. "It is care," she said. "Someone has to help you make decisions. You are alone here." "I was alone by choice," I said, "and by law." I kept my tone mild. It was a simple sentence. It was true. The man smiled wider. "You do not have to be alone," he said. "We are family. We can step in. You just sign a few things. We will make sure the bills are paid. Keep the house safe. You deserve to relax." He had said this to other people before, I could tell. The sentences came in order. They landed in the same places. The milk hissed once in Evan's mug. I wiped the ring from the counter with a towel, then folded the towel in half. My hands were steady. I took a quiet breath. "Sit," I said to them. "At the table." They sat. The woman put her phone face down. The man did not. He kept it in his hand like a lifeline. "Tell me your plan," I said. "Start to finish." He grinned and leaned forward, eager to explain. That was when I knew it, clear as day. They thought I was easy. Evan slurped at his cocoa and swung his feet. His socks had little rockets on them. He asked if I had whipped cream. I did not. He did not mind. The woman watched him drink, then looked at me. "You still drink it like that," she said to the boy, almost smiling. "You push the marshmallows to the side with the spoon the same way." I set my own mug down. The steam blurred my glasses. I took them off, wiped them, and slid them back on. When I looked at her again, I saw past the years more cleanly. I did the math without thinking. She was not in her 30s. She was in her mid-40s. Shock had shaved a decade off her in my eyes. The scar behind her left ear was small and pale, a fine white comma. I remembered the chair. I remembered the face she made when I called her brave. I remembered she believed me. It hurt, and it helped. Evan set his mug down and looked at the framed photo on the wall. "Who is that?" he asked. "That is your mother when she was your age," I said, keeping my voice even. The woman's eyes flicked to the photo, then to me, then away. "We did not come to linger," the man said. He placed a folder on the table and tapped it. We brought some documents. Routine things. We are trying to avoid stress for everyone. I nodded as if this was about stress and not control. The woman folded her hands. Mom will be relieved we found you, she said. She tried to sound warm. The words stuck in her throat. It has been a long time. Yes, I said. A long time. Evan swung his feet faster. Are we going to the zoo? He asked. He was trying to be patient. He was losing ground. I looked at the clock over the stove. We might, I said. We have some talking to do first. The man checked his phone again. We are on a bit of a schedule, he said. The person we need is waiting nearby. We do not want to waste her time. He caught himself before saying the word. He did not want me to know who waited in the car. He did not want to spook me. He was too late for that. I will not keep anyone waiting, I said. I know the cost of that. The woman's face softened for half a second. Then it hardened again. She nodded toward the frames. You kept those up, she said. Even after... She stopped. After what? I asked. She closed her mouth. Her jaw worked. She looked at the man as if for permission, and the smallness of that look put a crack in me. She should never have had to ask anyone for permission to speak to her own father. That was not how this was supposed to be. Evan fidgeted and bumped his mug. I caught it before it tipped. Sorry, he said. It is fine, I said. You are fine. I could feel another world settling around me. A boy who might be mine. A daughter who was and was not mine. A man with a plan I did not ask for. A woman in a car, waiting, ready to stamp this day into a shape that would hold. I'd kept my head down for years. Now the ground shifted. I wiped the ring of cocoa from the table and set the mug back in place. I smiled at Evan and handed him a dry napkin. I looked at the man and then at my daughter. I did not blink. They were not here to visit. They were not here for cocoa. They were here for more than cocoa. But they underestimated me. I managed to see through their plans, and after I would manage to see the full picture, my revenge is going to twist their lives. You wouldn't believe what is going to happen. But before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The man unzipped the leather folder. He spread papers across my table as if setting a neat breakfast. Each sheet had bright flags stuck to the edges. Sign here. Initial there. The top page had a title in bold. Durable Power of Attorney. The next said Temporary Guardianship. The third was a quitclaim deed with my address printed at the top. Someone had filled out half the lines for me. Do not let the words scare you, the man said. This is all for your protection. We want to make sure your assets are not at risk. There are scams, there are bills. This just lets us help. He said it smooth. He said it like a nurse explaining stitches. He made it sound like being cared for. He made it sound inevitable. The woman nodded but kept her eyes on Evan. We can take Evan to the zoo while you rest, she said. We have tickets on my phone. You and I can finish the papers after. No rush. Can I go with Grandpa? Evan asked. She paused. Maybe later, she said. She glanced at the man as if to check if that was the right answer. He gave her a slight nod. It was a cue and a leash. There is a notary in the car, the man said now. He could not help himself. He wanted this to move. He wanted the engine humming outside to mean something. She can be in and out, 5 minutes. No trouble. I looked at the pages again. The fonts were clean. The language was familiar. I had read many documents in my life. I had signed my name on more lines than I could count. I knew how words could carry weight when someone else held the pen. What do these do? I asked. He smiled like a teacher. The POA lets your daughter make choices when you are tired or confused. The guardianship covers your grandson in case you need help watching him. The deed is just a safety measure. It helps avoid probate mess later. We can sign them all today. Simple. It keeps the house safe. the woman added, as if on cue. "That is the point." "For whom?" I asked. She flinched. The man answered for her. "For you," he said, cheerful. "Of course." Evan hummed under his breath and traced a rocket on his sock with one finger. He was bored. He was ready for lions and tigers. He did not know he was in a different kind of zoo. The man pushed a pen toward me. "We will handle the rest," he said. "Auto pay, repairs, groceries, everything. You deserve to relax." I picked up the pen. It had weight. I rolled it once in my fingers, like I was thinking. I set it down on the first flag, then slid it back to him. "Give me a minute," I said. "I need my glasses." "Of course," he said. He leaned back, pleased. He thought the engine outside was about to be worth the gas. I looked at Evan. "Would you like more marshmallows?" I asked. He nodded. "Yes, please." I got up and opened the cabinet. I could feel the air in the room change. They thought the day was theirs to shape. They thought I would step where they pointed. I did not raise my voice. I did not move fast. I did not need to. I knew exactly what needed to happen and who I needed to be in this room. I put 2 marshmallows in Evan's mug and patted his shoulder once. I turned and walked toward my study to get my glasses. I nodded as if I agreed. I left the kitchen and went down the short hall. I opened the hall closet. My winter coat hung heavy on the left. The vacuum leaned on the right. On the shelf sat a plain shoebox with a rubber band around it. I had sealed it last spring. I had not opened it since. My hands were steady. Keep steady. Do not break. I brought the box back to the table and set it down beside the leather folder with the flagged pages. Evan watched me like I was about to do a magic trick. The man, Mark, leaned back and lifted one corner of his smile. My daughter kept her hands flat, palms down, like she was bracing for bad news. I slipped off the rubber band. I lifted the lid. The smell of old paper rose up. I took out the first envelope. The postmark was from 25 years ago. It had a thin red stamp across the front. Address unknown. I set it on the table. I placed the next one on top of it, and the next, and the next. I stacked them slow. I did not talk. I wanted the sound of paper to fill the room. Each envelope had her name. Each had a small birthday card inside, a note from me, a check for $50 when I could do 50, a 20 when I could not. I had sent one every year. I had kept sending even after the first came back. I had kept sending because I did not know what else to do. I kept sending because some part of me believed a path could stay open if you kept walking it. When the stack reached my hand, I stopped. I used one finger to square the edges. Then I looked up. "If I was gone," I said, "why did I keep sending these?" Mark's smile thinned. "People mail things all the time," he said. "Old men get confused. Mail gets returned. It is not a big deal." "Not a big deal." He said it like a blanket he wanted to pull over the table. My daughter did not look at him. She picked up the top envelope. She slid her thumb under the flap and opened it. The card inside was small and cheap, a cupcake on the front. Inside, in my old careful letters, I had written her name and the same line each year. "I am here. I am trying. Happy birthday." I had signed it with love and my name. She read it. Her throat moved. She put the card back in the envelope with precise fingers like it was fragile. She took the next envelope and opened that one too. Same card, same hand, different year, different postmark, the same red stamp. "Why would you do this?" she asked, but she did not ask it like an accusation. She asked it like a person who needed the world to make sense. "Because you were never done with me," I said. "I am not confused about that." She pressed her lips together. Her eyes shone, then went clear again. She set the card down and reached for the next. Mark cleared his throat. "This proves nothing legal," he said. "It just proves you mail things. We are here to keep you safe today. That is what matters." He wanted to drag us back to his plan. He needed the papers on my table to be the only story. He needed today to be the day he came to fix me. I looked at my daughter. She held the third card in her hand. Her mouth trembled and then steadied. She looked at the name on the envelope again, the address stamped and crossed out, and the long line of years that had stacked between us. I saw doubt enter her eyes like a clean wind coming through a door. Doubt entered. Risk pivoted toward them. Mark tapped his folder again. "Let us not get lost in the past," he said. "We have a full day. We planned a zoo trip. We texted you this week. You said yes to the zoo." He held up a printed thread. A chat bubble said, "Grandpa, we will go Saturday. I will bring snacks. Do not be late." He set the paper on the table like a trump card. He expected me to blink. I did not. "That is not my phone," I said. He laughed a little. "It is from your number." I took my flip phone from my pocket and placed it beside the paper. "This is my number," I said. "Call the grandpa number." He hesitated. He did not like it when the steps were not his. "Call it," I repeated. My voice was calm. I did not raise it. Calm can cut cleaner than a shout. My daughter glanced between us. Evan hugged his mug with both hands and kept quiet. He knew the tone of a standoff, even if he did not know the words. Mark kept his smile on. He picked up his phone and tapped. A second later, a soft buzz sounded in his coat pocket. I did not move. My daughter did. Her eyes dropped to his pocket. He froze for 1 second. Then he slipped his hand in and thumbed the screen to silence. He tried to do it casual. He failed. He lifted his hands, palms out. Phones forward. "Company policy. It can happen," he said fast. "It is not what you think." "What I think is that you have been texting my grandson as me," I said. "What I think is that you wanted to build a story." "Old man, confused, lonely, wants help." I let the words hang there. "Do not fill the silence for him. Let him sit in it." My daughter's chest rose and fell. She looked at me, then at the paper, then at his pocket again. She was doing math in her head, too. She was subtracting the things she had been told from the things she could see. "Show me your call history," she said to him. Her voice was not loud, but it had a new shape. It had a steel edge. It was not the coached hospital tone from the porch. He bluffed. "You do not need to police me," he said. "We are a team." "Show me," she said again. No rise, no fall. Just the request, plain and even. He did not. He shrugged and tried to move on. "We are wasting time," he said, and pushed the pen toward me again. "You said you needed your glasses. Let us get this done and take Evan to see the lions." Evan perked up at the word lions. He glanced at me with hope. I felt that hope like a weight in my hand. I would not let anyone use it against him. I picked up my flip phone again. I scrolled to the last calls. Today's list had my neighbor, the pharmacy, and a spam number. No zoo texts, no grandpa promises. I set the phone back on the table. "This is my history," I said. "That is your pocket." He exhaled hard through his nose. It was not a laugh now. It was a tell. My daughter did not touch him. She sat back in her chair and kept her hands apart. The space between them widened. I saw it. He saw it too. He did not like it. He started to speak. Before he could, his phone lit up. He glanced at the screen and without thinking swiped answer and hit speaker. He was still in the mode of proof. He wanted to show control. He forgot that some voices do not help you when the room is not yours. "Is he signing?" My ex-wife's voice poured into my kitchen. It was sharp and too loud. "Do not drag this out. Use the boy. Leverage works on old men." It was as if the room lost air. Even the small ticking of the stove clock stopped in my ears. My daughter's head turned toward the phone like someone had called her across a playground. Her lips parted. A tiny shake started in her hand and then stilled. She swallowed. "Mom," she said. It was the softest I had heard her speak all morning. It was also the clearest. On the speaker my ex sighed, dramatic and bored. Do not get soft, Claire. Get the papers done. Tell him probate is a nightmare. Tell him houses fall apart. Tell him he needs help. Do whatever you need to do. We do not have time for his little feelings, Claire. My daughter had a name here. It fit, and it did not. It was the name of a woman who had grown up without me. It was the name of a girl I had known with a different last name and a pink backpack. Evan edged his stool closer to me. He pressed his shoulder against my arm. He did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. He understood when someone was being used as a tool. Children always feel the pull of that hook. Mark reached for the phone like he could shove the words back inside it. He stabbed at the screen and missed, then lowered the volume. "Mom," Claire said again, louder now. "Say that last part again." "I said use the boy." My ex rolled the words like marbles. "He is the lever." Old men love their precious legacies. Promise him visits. Promise him holidays. I do not care. Get the deed. Get the POA. Call me back when it is done. I stood very still. I did not speak. I did not give Mark a target to push against. I watched Claire instead. I watched a story she had lived inside for 35 years tilt under her feet. I watched her try not to fall. Her eyes went to the shoebox, then to the photo on the wall, then to Evan's small hands around the mug, then to the flags on the page that said, "Quitclaim deed," then to Mark's pocket. She reached for the phone. Mark tried to keep it. She took it anyway. Her hands were steady now. She hit the red button. The line went dead. She set the phone down in the middle of the table and looked at me. "She told me you were dangerous," she said. She was not crying. She was not yelling. She sounded like she was reading a bad bill in a small room. "She said you left." "She said you did not want me?" I nodded once. "I know what she said," I said. "She filed papers to make it true on the surface." But I kept sending letters under the surface. Mark moved his chair back an inch. He was looking for an exit. He had not planned for this exact moment. He had not planned for the voice on his side to betray him to the room. "Claire," he said, too gentle, "do not overreact. We still need to—" "Do not tell me what I need," she said, and the steel again. It rang clear this time. "Do not use my son as a lever." She stood. She took a single breath, and when she let it out, I watched her shoulders drop an inch. She had put something down. Not me, not the boy, something else. She turned to me. "You said you needed your glasses," she said. Her voice was even. "Get them." I met her eyes. "I will," I said. I walked to my study. My heart was steady now. The family was finally reunited in a positive way. The next move was mine. My study smelled like old wood and lemon oil. The blinds were open a crack. The winter light lay thin across the desk. I closed the door with my hand, not a click, just a soft push until it settled. I stood for one breath and counted to 3. Do not rush. Do not stumble. Be exact. I opened the small safe behind the file cabinet. The dial felt familiar under my fingers. I turned it home. Inside were the things I had kept because I knew this day could come in one shape or another. I took the thin blue folder with the label I had typed last spring. I took the small lockbox with the spare key cards. I left the rest. I sat at the desk and opened the folder. My lawyer's card sat on top. We had talked in April. I had told him the truth in simple words. My ex-wife had run with my daughter. I had tried and failed to find them. I was getting older. I wanted my home to be a place no one could steal with a smile. He had nodded. He had done the work. I had signed. We had left one step undone, because I could not let go until I knew why I had to. I picked up the phone and called him. He answered on the second ring. "It is Thomas Reed," I said. "We are doing it now." "No changes?" he asked. "No changes," I said. "Execute it." He did not waste words. I heard his keyboard. I heard him tell someone to stand by. He asked me to confirm the property address, the trust name, the terms we had set. My home and the savings tied to it moved into the trust. The trust held for one purpose: education and housing for my grandson, a separate, small condo in my name, offered to my daughter on conditions that kept predators out. He spoke it back. I said yes. "We will record in the next few minutes," he said. "I will text you the file number." "Thank you," I said. I ended the call. Then I quietly sent 2 messages, a simple coffee invitation. That would be my surprise counterattack. I sat still and listened to the house. I could hear Evan's light voice down the hall. I could hear Mark's lower tone, controlled and tight. I could not hear Claire. That was all right. She was in the room and inside herself at the same time. She had work to do. My phone buzzed. A text. A number with the county stamp. I wrote it on a sticky note and stuck it to the front of the blue folder. Simple, clean, irreversible. I put the folder under my arm. I locked the safe. I took my glasses from the top drawer and slipped them on. The world sharpened. The frames on the wall straightened themselves. The lines on the floorboards fell into place. It felt like a lens had snapped into a camera. That was all. No speeches, no fireworks, just a quiet click that changes what you can see. I opened the study door and went back down the hall. I could feel my age and my name in my bones. They were not weights, they were anchors. They kept me steady. Mark glanced up as I walked in. He saw the folder and smiled again, quick and bright. He thought it was for him. I kept my steps even. I set the blue folder on the table. I did not open it yet. I did not need to. Not yet. The deed on his stack still had a flag that said, "Sign here." It waited like a mouth open for a spoon. I picked up my glasses case. I slid the glasses inside and snapped it shut. The sound was small. It sounded like the end of one thing and the start of another. I had walked alone for a long time. That morning a boy called me Grandpa, and it fit. It did not heal the years, but it gave me a place to stand. Claire stood in my kitchen, and I saw the child I had lost and the woman who had survived without me. I could not give her back a single day, but I could give her the truth and a safe way forward. Evan was small and bright and careful. He watched everything. He tried to be good for the adults in the room. No one should learn that being good means being useful to someone else's plan. I decided he would not learn that in my house. Not from Mark. Not from anyone. Claire had lived on a script that told her I was danger in absence. I saw her read my letters and hear her mother's voice call her son leverage, and I saw the ground shift. She did not need my anger. She needed a door out of that story. I had opened one. I would hold it open until she could walk through it on her own. The house was not a prize. It was shelter. My name was not a wallet. It was a promise I had made a long time ago and could still keep. The papers I moved were not revenge. They were a fence around a child and a woman who had been used. I had found my family again in the space of an hour. I meant to keep them safe from the people who called love a tool. There was a soft knock from the hall. I had left the door on the latch. I called, "Come in." My neighbor stepped in first. He held a tin of cookies his wife baked. Behind him came a woman from the community center. She wore a winter hat and a small badge with a sun on it. She smiled at Evan first, not at the papers. That mattered to me. I invited them for coffee, I said. It felt like a good morning for company. Mark's mouth tightened. "We are discussing private family matters," he said. His tone went formal. He wanted the room small again. The advocate set her hat on a chair and took a seat at the edge of the table. "I am here to make sure no one feels pressured," she said. "That is all. I listen. I take notes. I drink too much coffee." My neighbor nodded and sat too. He has known me for 20 years. He knows my good days and the quiet ones. He knows I remember where every tool in my garage hangs. Evan slid off his stool and stood by my elbow. His shoulder touched my arm again. I did not look down at him. I did not need to. I was glad for the touch. Mark tried to brighten his face. "We are trying to help Thomas avoid stress," he said. "He asked us to bring some helpful forms. We brought a notary so he does not have to go anywhere. This is all to make life easy." The advocate looked at me. "Do you feel rushed?" she asked. "Do you feel safe?" "I do," I said. "I am not signing anything from that folder." I pointed at the leather one with the flags. Then I placed my hand on the blue folder. "I will share what I have done already, if needed." Mark pushed his chair back an inch. The legs scraped. "You do not understand the process," he said. "These are time-sensitive." Claire looked at him. "Why?" she asked. "Why today?" Her voice had steadied. That made the question land harder. He opened his mouth and closed it. He glanced toward the idling car. The engine hum carried faintly through the door. His cue was out there. It could not help him in here. The advocate wrote a note on a pad. "Is anyone being coerced?" she asked the room. "Is anyone being told their child is a lever?" Silence sat with us for a beat. Mark stared at the yellow flags. He needed a new angle. He could not find one. And it was only the start. I stood and went down the hall again. Not far. Just to the old console table by the living room. The top drawer sticks unless you lift it a little. I lifted and pulled. Inside was a cassette in a plastic case and a sheet of paper I had typed myself after I had it digitized. I carried both back to the kitchen. I set the recorder on the table. I pressed play. The sound was a little tinny, but the words were clear enough. My ex-wife's voice from years ago, younger and sharper, floated into the room. "I filed the papers," she said on the tape. "He will never find us." On the paper, I had printed the date I recorded it and the date I had it converted. There were 2 court numbers I had tracked down and written in the margin. I did not point at them. I let the words work first. Claire leaned forward. Her body knew the voice before her mind did. Her eyes went soft, then hard. She did not blink. On the tape, my ex laughed. "He can write letters until his hand falls off. They will come back. I told the court he moved away. I made it clean. He is unlocatable. He loses." The advocate sat very still and watched Claire's face. My neighbor looked at the floor. Evan watched me. He did not like the voice on the table. He edged closer to me again. I rested my hand on his shoulder. One small anchor. I stopped the tape. The room felt warm and tight. The smell of cocoa had gone sweet and stale. "I kept copies of what I could," I said. "I kept dates. I kept trying. I could not kick the door down, but I did not stop knocking." Mark let out a short breath like he had been holding it. "Cassette tapes?" he said, trying to sound amused. "Old men and their hobbies." He wanted to make us feel silly for listening. He wanted us to forget what we heard. He wanted the year on the tape to matter more than the words. Claire did not look at him. She looked at me, then at Evan, then at the recorder. She reached out and pressed play again. She listened to the line about letters. She pressed stop. She picked up the paper. She ran her finger under the dates. Something moved in her face. It was not a fall. It was a turn. "My mother would say anything," she said. But it was not a defense. It was a blow she landed against the story inside her head. It landed and stayed. My daughter's face changed. Claire stood. She picked up Mark's phone without asking. He reached to stop her. She lifted her other hand, palm out. He did not touch her. She walked into the hallway and lifted the phone. I heard the small click as she started recording. Her voice carried back into the kitchen, steady and flat. "Did you buy that number?" she asked. "The one that texted from Grandpa this week." Mark stayed in his chair. He sat very still, like stillness could turn him into furniture. He said nothing. She waited. "Yes or no," she said. He blew air through his nose. "We needed a way to get him to let us in," he said. "We are helping you." "We are helping your son." Do not make this ugly. Claire's voice did not move. Say it again. We needed leverage, he said. He has a house. We have bills. It is not a crime to organize a family. The advocate watched the doorway. She did not interrupt. My neighbor stared at his hands. Evan leaned his head against my arm. I kept my hand light on his shoulder. My heart beat steady. I let this unfold. This was not mine to say. Claire re-entered the kitchen. She placed the phone in the middle of the table, screen up. The timer showed the seconds. She did not look at Mark. She looked at me. He is not leverage, she said. He is my father. The air in the room shifted. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. It was like a window had opened and cold, clean air had moved through us all. Mark's face went red up to his ears. He sat back and crossed his arms. He could not smile now. He could not find the script. I nodded once. Thank you, I said to her. Simple. Only that. She picked up the blue folder and read the first lines. She took a breath and let it out. All right, she said to me. Show me what you did. Mark reached for his flagged papers like a man grabbing at a rope that was not there. He found nothing to hold. I looked around my kitchen and saw a shape I had not seen in years. My family. Not the old picture on the wall, but the people in the chairs. Claire had chosen her son over a scheme and had chosen me over a lie. Evan leaned into me like the world made sense again. The neighbor and the advocate did not fix us. They just saw us. The papers with flags lost their color. The blue folder sat steady. We did not win with shouting. We won by standing next to each other and saying no. In that small room, the past stopped pushing us around. I felt something simple and rare. We were on the same side. We were not hiding. We were not bargaining. We were a family that had come back to itself, and I was ready to hold it. My phone buzzed on the table beside the blue folder. Mark stared at his flagged papers like they might wake up and work again. My lawyer confirmed the filing in plain words. The number he read matched the sticky note on the folder. He said the house was no longer easy to take. He said it was held for the child. No speeches, just ground under our feet. The advocate noted the time. My neighbor stayed quiet, steady as a post. Claire lifted Mark's phone and played the short clip she had recorded. His own voice said the ugly part. He tried the oldest excuse. Out of context. I felt the anger rise and pass. I kept my voice even. There is no context where a child is leverage. I ended the call. I closed the shoebox and slid the rubber band back around it. I put the recorder away. The room felt lighter. The cold outside felt far away. My hands were steady. I had what I needed, and so did she. I told Mark and the notary to leave. No heat, no threat, just the line. He stood slow, folder clutched tight, and tried the same old warning about work and bills. I did not move off the threshold. I am not alone, I said. That was enough. Claire added the only words he needed to hear. We are done. She handed him the burner phone on his way out. He looked at it like it had betrayed him and walked to the car without meeting her eyes. The advocate stepped forward and offered a card, plain and calm. If he returned, there would be a paper trail. He did not take the card. He drove off. I closed the door and felt the wood under my palm. The house held. The day held. The line sat in the doorframe where it belonged. We sat without talking for a minute. The house made small sounds again. The heater clicked on. The clock remembered its tick. Evan finished his cookie and smiled like he had rescued it. Claire looked at the blue folder. Tell me the terms in plain words, she said. In plain words, I said, this roof is for your son. When he is older, it will help him start. Your name is not a target. It is a promise. I also have a small place across town. I want you to use it if you want. I want you safe. But it has conditions. No contact with Mark. No contact with my ex in my home. Counseling. Not forever. Just until the ground stops moving. She listened. She did not rush to agree. She looked at Evan. She looked at the photo on the wall. She looked at me. "I can do that," she said. "I can do the work." "We will write it down tomorrow," I said. "Simple, clear, no surprises." She took my hand. Her grip was light and firm. I felt the small bones of her fingers and the stubbornness of her palm. It was the same stubbornness I had loved when she was 10. "I'm sorry I did not check," she said. "I'm sorry I believed it all." "I'm sorry I did not find you," I said. "I tried. I failed. But I am here now." Evan tugged my sleeve. "Grandpa," he said, "can we still go?" I looked at the clock. We had time. We had more than time. We had a day that belonged to us again. "Yes," I said, "we can still go." We rinsed the mugs. Claire wrapped her scarf around her neck with hands that did not shake. I put the shoebox back in the closet and set the rubber band in place. I slid the recorder into the drawer and pushed until it stuck. I left the blue folder on the counter. It did not need to hide. It had done its job. We put on our coats. We stepped into the cold. It felt like the first clean air of winter. The zoo lot was half empty. The cold kept people home. Evan did not care. He bounced between us, holding both our hands. His hat rode up. I tugged it down over his ears. He grinned at me like I had done a magic trick. We saw the seals first, quick and sleek in the gray water. Evan pressed his palms to the glass. He laughed when one blew a bubble. Claire watched him, and then watched me. Sometimes she looked like she wanted to apologize again. I shook my head each time. We were not doing that. We were doing this. At the lions, Evan went quiet. The male lifted his head and looked right through us. Evan squeezed my fingers hard. "He is big," he whispered. "He is," I said. "We are safe on this side." We stood there for a long minute. The cold crept up my sleeves. I did not mind. I felt steady. I felt tired in the right way. We had done something hard and simple. We had drawn a line and then stepped away from it together. Claire leaned close. "I want to tell him the truth," she said, eyes on Evan. "Not all at once. Not ugly. Just the truth in small pieces. About you. About what happened." "I will be here when you do," I said. We walked on. Evan pointed at a red panda. He asked a dozen questions. He told me he liked marshmallows more than whipped cream. He told me rockets could go to the zoo if the zoo was on the moon. He told me he wanted to come back next week. I told him yes, and meant it. By the exit, Claire stopped. She reached into her bag and pulled out something wrapped in tissue. She handed it to me. "I went to the old storage unit last month," she said. "I did not know why I kept this. I do now." I unwrapped the tissue. It was a small pink backpack. The zipper was new. The fabric was clean. The front pocket had a tiny stitched bear. I ran my finger over the seam by instinct and found the little scar in the cloth where a bandage had once snagged. The past sat there, mended but visible. "Thank you," I said. She nodded. Her eyes shone and did not spill. Evan leaned against my leg and yawned. It was a big day for a small boy. We walked to the car. Claire buckled Evan in and kissed his head. I stood by the door and watched his breath fog the window. He drew a rocket ship in the fog with one finger. It took off and faded. On the drive back, I looked at the road and thought about the house, the door frame, the lines we set, the simple words that held. I did not feel grand or clever. I felt like a man who had finally put his hands back on the wheel of his own life and kept it steady for the people beside him. We parked. We went inside. The heater hummed. I put the pink backpack on the hook by the door. It belonged there. It made the hall look right. Evan asked for cocoa. I made it. Claire took off her scarf and helped with the marshmallows. We did not talk about leverage or papers or old lies. We talked about seals and lions and which animal snores the loudest. We laughed at nothing and everything. I kept my promise. I took my grandson to the zoo. I just took the predators off the path first. Do you also believe a quiet boundary is stronger than a loud argument? Share your thoughts in the comments.
My grandpa's words really happened. I believe him. If you want more true tales stories like this, hit subscribe.